It's difficult to go through life when you feel that there is no light at the end of the tunnel. It's difficult when you fight depression, especially because you're not fighting it just today or for a week or for a month. If you've been struggling for depression, then it's probably been there for years and years and years and years. But do you know what? There's a better way to actually solve depression than just taking pills, or than just, I don't know, wishful thinking, or just sinking into a kind of a feeling that is kind of, I don't know, surrendering, like surrendering that you feel that this is all you can hope for, right? You just take your pills and you go through a little bit of therapy, and that's kind of it. That's all the best that life can actually give you. Well, no, actually no, that's not true. Now, I've been treating patients with depression using acupuncture, and I have very, very good news for you. I mean, I've been there. My story is that I've treated probably, I don't know, countless patients for more than 20 years, and I've seen many, many, many flavors of depression. The magical part about emotional acupuncture is that actually it goes so deep. And the reason why it goes so much deeper is because its understanding of how this depression comes to be is so much deeper, right? And that's where things start to be different. Maybe you've seen one of my episodes in the podcast in which I was speaking about the roots of suffering, the roots of disease, and I was encouraging you to see beyond just the hedonistic type of, I'm suffering because of that, I want that to go away, and I'm concerned with the suffering going away, which is of course human, but just because you want it to go away is not going to make it go away. So what we need to do is understand why it's there in the first place. And how we relate to suffering is very, very important for any disease you might be having, but especially so for depression, because depression is hopelessness, right? And it's very easy to slip into hopelessness when hopelessness is exactly the problem that you're trying to solve, right? It's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But I've got good news for you, right? And I hope you find the good news in what I'm saying. All you need to do is just look and listen. The good news is there is a way. There is a way out. And it's been proven again and again and again and again. And it's not just by me, right? I'm just one therapist out of many therapists, right? But emotional acupuncture can actually go a very, very long and deep way. We just need to understand things first. And this is what this first video is. So this is one of a two-part series. Today, we're going to talk about the understanding of depression from a point of view of Chinese medicine and emotional acupuncture, and I'll tell you a little bit about karmic acupuncture as well. And then in the next video, the second out of this two-part video, is the one in which we're going to talk about what your experience as a patient is, what you can expect, how does the journey out of depression look like, and what else will you be gaining throughout this journey, and what will your life be looking like at the other side, on the other side, okay? So it's a two-part series, right? This is the first part. Make sure you watch the next video, because in that one I'm talking about what the experience looks like. So, how do you understand depression? Let me give you a clear example of the most common kind of depression. The most common kind of depression is wood kind of depression. And I just want to pause here a little bit, because this is, I don't know if you've noticed, but the differences have already started between the approach in Chinese medicine and the approach in Western medicine. In Western medicine, you have depression. There's no real flavors to it. It's depression. You're depressed or you're not depressed. It's 0 or 1. It's black or white. in Western medicine, there are many flavors of depression which have an equal number of causes. And already, just by the principle of it, right, if you think about it, right, any good treatment is based on as an individualized diagnosis as possible. Basically, the better you understand it, the better chance you have to cure it. And this also explains, right, if the corollary of it is, if you don't understand it, if you understand it only partly, right, you're going to be able to cure those diseases, those depressions, which are explained by that part that you do understand. But if they are caused by a part that you don't understand, of course, then your diagnosis is not going to reflect that deeper understanding, and your treatment based on that diagnosis is not going to yield results, right? So already out of the gate, Western medicine and Chinese medicine have different approaches. Chinese medicine recognizes that there are different and plural, right, more than one causes of depression. And the approach in Chinese medicine, one of them, is to understand things from a perspective of elements, right? There are 5 elements in Chinese medicine: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And each of these has some organs attached to it, right? So for example, the wood element has correspondence to the liver and gallbladder. The fire one is the exception, right? Because all the others, all elements have kind of 2 main organs associated with them. Fire is the exception, has 4. These are the heart, the small intestine, the pericardium, and a very peculiar, strange kind of thing which is called the triple burner or triple heater. And then we have earth, which is spleen and stomach, and then we have metal, which is lungs and large intestine, and then we have water, which is kidneys and bladder. Well, guess what? All of these can cause depression, but their flavors are going to be different, and this is what we're going to explore here. Now, I want to emphasize the fact that there is this approach in Chinese medicine in which we associate emotions and organs, right? And this is one of the big things that Chinese medicine and understanding brings, right? It already links the physical and energetic. When I mean energetic, I mean the energy of that particular organ, so it doesn't need to be anything structurally wrong with it. So don't go out and check your liver or your lungs for whatever. It's not going to show up on blood tests, for example. Or it might show up, but it's more likely than not to not show up, right? But it will show up in different other ways. So it links, Chinese medicine links organs with emotions. So already we have an approach, right? We have an approach in which, for example, if we understand depression to be able to come from any of these 5 elements and any of these organs, we have so many elements and organs that we can approach depression through. But some types of depression are much more common than others. So for example, let's talk a little bit, let's dive into a little bit more detail here, and we're going to analyze the most common one. And the most common one is wood type of depression. And what does wood type of depression look like? So imagine wood, the element, right? What is it associated with? It's associated with spring, the season in which all nature comes to life, and there's a lot of green stuff, and the sun is shining and it's getting warm outside, and all the nature comes out, and leaves are coming out and growing, and the trees are green, and the grass is sprouting from the ground, and all nature is coming to life, and there's an enthusiasm, a vibrance that is so typical of the spring, because it's like it's like waking up from the death of winter. It's poetic, right? Except when you're depressed, and then everything is like okay. It's like it's not going to touch you in any way. It's not going to touch your soul in any way. Actually, it might even make you more depressed, okay? So what does depression have to do with the wood element? Well, for example, going a little bit deeper, and I warn you, when we talk about these elements, the depth, the philosophical depth of each element is absolutely amazing. I mean, one could easily be talking for about 3 hours on one element, and I'm not sure we would cover everything in 3 hours about one element with its organs and all that, right? So it's that deep, but I'm just gonna try to make it very, very short so that you get the point. So imagine this nature, right? Why is it coming out? Why are these little bits of greenery coming out, sprouting and, you know, blossoming and all that? Well, they yearn towards the sun. They yearn towards the heat and light coming from the sun. There is a very clear direction. There's a very clear target, right? They want to be there. They want to reach that. And this is very important because this means that the wood element is about a journey. It's about coming from point A to a point B, right? The seed in the ground, which is just a seed in the winter, is sprouting in the spring, and it's piercing through layers of earth up towards the sun, and there it's blossoming. So you might be thinking, what the hell is this all to do with, you know, depression? What does this have anything to do with depression? Well, the functioning of our wood element inside the human body is not different from the functioning of the spring as a season and of the dynamic that is present in all nature in spring. So this is what it has to do with, because we need to understand the dynamics of the wood element if we are to understand how it breaks down. So there is a transformation, there is a journey, there is a change, right? And this change is, one, towards a goal and purpose. Two, it needs to overcome obstacles. Imagine being the seed in the ground. It needs to penetrate, push through layers of ground. So basically it has to go through obstacles. Right? It has to go through obstacles. It needs a lot of power to do that. It needs perseverance to do that. It needs to push through. It needs to visualize that beyond layers and layers of earth, there will be a destination. There will come a point where it's free and it gets to the sun and the warmth that it's striving for, right? How does this relate to our way of being? We don't necessarily strive for the sun, not physically, but metaphorically we are. Metaphorically, we are striving to get to some place which has more meaning, more positive stuff than the place where we're at right now. Basically, the wood element is taking us from point A to point B. And depression is when this transformation, this journey, cannot or does not take place for whatever reason. And herein lie various different reasons within the wood element. And within the wood element, all these reasons also translate into different points on acupuncture channels. Which acupuncture channels? Well, the ones pertaining to the wood organs, meaning the liver and the gallbladder. But the reason why I'm explaining all this to you is because I'm trying to put you in the mindset of a therapist so that you understand how we come to choose these meridians and points. And once we do understand the dynamic, those meridians and points unblock the process, right? So for example, right, I'll give you an example. There's a point on the liver channel, liver 14. And by the way, acupuncture points have names, right? This guy's name is Gate of Hope. Now, how interesting is that? To have an acupuncture point named Gate of Hope. Because, and by the way, it's liver 14, it's the last point on the channel. It's the destination of the liver channel, right? It's what you're striving for. It's to remind yourself of a vision, right? I'm striving towards that. And if you don't have the vision, you've got nothing to look forward to. You've got nothing to motivate you. And this is what the liver point does to you. It enables you to regain your vision and to regain a sense of purpose, of destination, to have something to fight for. And that will take you out of depression. It may be that you see the destination, but you don't think you can make it. You don't see a way out of it, right? Either you see a way out of it, but you don't have the energy. Like it's like, I need to push through, but I cannot. Or you understand you cannot push through, but you don't see a way around, right? All these are things that pertain to the wood element. Because, by the way, the wood element, with its many different ways of solving problems, is also associated with creativity, right? So maybe your creativity has gone down the drain. Well, actually, I guarantee you it's gone down the drain. If you're depressed, you're not creative, right? But they're related. Okay, so how does acupuncture solve this? Well, we have the wood elements, the wood element, and the organs, the liver and the gallbladder. And most of the time, a treatment on the liver and the gallbladder is working very well to solve this kind of depression. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. And in part 2 of this series, we'll talk much more about what the journey is, because the journey is not, we stick needles in you and poof, you're wonderful, you're magic, you're, levitating off the table and off to a happy, nice horizon. It doesn't work quite like that. It'd be too easy if it did. But it also brings you a lot more benefits because it's not like that, right? Because if it were like that, again, link towards the video with the hedonistic approach about suffering, see my podcast. And the idea is that these kinds of things aren't happening to us just because, there's something wrong with the universe. So we need to learn something. And that's the question, right? What can you learn out of this? Why are you depressed? Why is it happening to you? Right? And in the next video, we're going to examine why it's happening to you. Now, of course, not to you individually, because I don't know you as an individual, but I'm going to explain to you the thinking behind it. And also, what else is there important to note? We've only been talking here about the wood element, and I could go on and on and on. Right, but there's the metal element. What does the metal element have to do with? Well, it has to do with a lack of bearings, a lack of sense, right? I don't feel that my life is making sense. I don't feel that the universe is making sense. Or I'm angry on God. I'm angry at God, at divinity, at the universe, right? I feel that there's injustice everywhere. I feel sadness, melancholy, and anger at the injustice of it all. This is the metal flavor, right? This has to do with the lungs and the large intestine. Or, let's see, there's the fire flavor, right? And here the fire flavor is actually the lack of fire, which creates depression. I call it tears of the clown syndrome, right? Tears of the clown. It's like somebody has so little spark. They don't have the joy of life, but they might be looking as if they are. And this is why I call it it's not me calling it, it's already known in literature as the syndrome of the clown, the tears of the clown syndrome, right? Because it's like the clown makes everybody laugh. And oh, he's so joyful. Oh, he's so funny. Everybody laughs. Why did he become a clown in the first place? Because his need for that laughter, his need to be in the midst of all that joy is so strong, because deep down he so lacks that joy. Maybe you know that actor that killed himself, a very renowned comedian, Robin Williams. Look him up, Robin Williams, if you don't know. Amazing actor, incredible sensitivity, emotional sensitivity, but his life was so depressing because he was so lacking that warmth. And I could go on, right? I could tell you about the water kind of depression. I could tell you about the earth kind of depression. But this video is getting already long. So I'm only going to do an extra video with these if you guys want it. So write to me in the comments below if you want me to go into that, into these elements as well and explain them. And if there are enough people wanting, then maybe I'll do a video on that. So let's create a little bit of engaging. I want to, ideally, when I do events, and I love doing events, I love coming in contact with you guys in dialogue, I want to make it as individually adapted as possible. So ideally we would not be having this conversation right now where I'm talking to a camera that stares back at me. Now I know you see me, but I don't see you, and we don't have a dialogue. But maybe through comments we can establish a dialogue, right? And maybe you tell me what you want, what your questions are, and maybe I can adapt the next videos that I want to make based on what you tell me. So of course, you know the basic drill, right? Like, subscribe, and if you know anyone in your circle of friends or acquaintances who might be benefiting from the information in this video, and by the way, check my podcast, there's tons of information there as well. Give them a shout, give them a link. Right, so this has been part 1 of this 2-part series. There's going to be part 2 following pretty soon, so stay tuned and I'll see you in that. And in that one we're going to talk about the actual journey, right? Because we've talked about how we understand depression, but what does it look like from the perspective of a patient going through the treatment? Because it's not at all what it would seem. It's very anti-intuitive, which is why I'm making the video in the first place, right? Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.